Well, the first thing was I was dragged along to theatre by my parents. Like a lot of people in society, it's a great family society. My parents are both very, very active members of this and previous societies beforehand. My dad was musical director for the group for many, many years and other groups where he was living. And my mother played leading role parts in many, many productions. I have a brother and a sister, both of whom joined and did the theatre. And my sister went on to do it professionally. She's now, has been for many, many years, an opera singer at English National Opera. So she's one of us who have fledged and become professional, whereas most of us stay as amateur and just do it for the love of it. Well, when we were younger, it was never about doing it professionally. It's how things have changed over the years, because my first show was when I was 10 years old. So I was a kid, and all of the other people doing the show at the same time were children of other people in society, mostly. So we grew up as kids doing the shows all together. We just wanted to be all with each other as kids and doing the shows, loving it, and then we just grown up with it. And there are many members of the cast with us now who I knew as children in the shows and have done it pretty much ever since. It never really crossed our minds to become professional. It was always just a hobby, because that's what our parents did as a hobby. It was unusual that my sister decided to take it up professionally, but that was unusual. Whereas these days, people are force-fed with the, oh, do this as a job, be famous, and whilst all the programs that you see on the television these days are a great expose and really showcase musical theatre, it was never like that before, that people are being sort of force-fed, go to stage school, do it professionally, be on X Factor, be on the Andrew Lloyd Webber shows, do that sort of thing. It's just a brilliant social life. And unlike pretty much any other hobby I can think of, right from day one, you get involved with people from all different areas, all different ages. There were people who, when I joined, who were my parents' peers and my grandparents' peers, that sort of age. And you treat them as friends, and they are your friends. They're not a different generation, they're not another world. You get people from all sorts of jobs doing it, and you're all thrown together, and just as one big group, one big family. Particularly relevant at the moment, there's probably several people in society at this moment who are unemployed. Yet there's other people who are working in the city, who have got really quite stressful, difficult jobs. I'm sort of a part of that group. I have a very busy job, but there again, I always make time for my hobby, as does everyone else. And that's the thing about a hobby, it's something you do outside of work that almost keeps you sane. We give people a lot of latitude. If you can imagine the people who are directing us, they are in no way more senior than anyone else. It's not like being in a business where you have managers, you have directors, you have people you report to. We give our trust to the people in the directing team who are just like us. One of us might be directing in the next show or whatever. And we give them that trust and allow them to tell us what to do, which is quite unusual, to allow someone who has got no real authority over you to tell you what to do, even though you might not like that. But you do it because you think they're doing it for the best reasons. You have to give people a certain amount of responsibility, otherwise it's just anarchy. But there's quite often times when everyone thinks they've got their own point of view. I mean, my wife's the choreographer in this show, and she'll quite often say, how many choreographers have we got, when we all come up with our own opinions? But but usually it's governed by one person, because they are the eyes. They can see out front what works and what doesn't work. I first saw Sue many, many years ago when I was a teenager, I suppose, going to parties, and she was there. Didn't really pay much attention, but the first time where really you start to sort of look at people in a different light was we were going to be doing a big tap dance show. I'd never done tap dancing before. And Sue was in another local society, and she offered to do tap dancing lessons for free for their cast and for our cast, because we both had shows coming up which involved tap dancing, and taught us the basics and then more advanced tap dancing. It ended up, after that I ended up with the lead for the next part, which was Crazy for You, which is a big tap dancing show. So she managed to teach me well enough to bluff my way through doing that whole show. But that was many years ago. But she was always then around the society, and saw her at different events. And then it wasn't until she then became choreographer for our society that we sort of got to know each other better. And then eventually it just sort of happened at a party that we started dating, and have been doing so ever since. Well, it's nice that we're both involved in the same hobby, because like with most hobbies, if one of the partners is heavily involved with a hobby and the other partner isn't, then that can cause a certain amount of friction. But similarly, if you're both involved in the same hobby, you're sharing your hobby with someone who's your partner, and that can cause different sort of frictions. With us, it's not really a problem. I think doing this sort of world, it's never really a friction if you're both in it together, unless you happen to be doing the obvious things, like if you're playing a lead part opposite another person, a woman, and there is this, I call it kind of a myth, that it sort of goes beyond what you do on stage. I haven't really seen that much myself, but I suppose in certain instances it can do. I'm playing one of the main Billy's gang in this, so I'm playing a 12-year-old schoolboy. I apparently throw myself into it and play a very good 12-year-old schoolboy. Whether that's something inside me, I don't know, but I think from doing it so much, I don't get intimidated by being on stage. When you start from when you're really young and you do it now, I don't get nerves going on stage. So to completely open yourself up and just throw yourself into the part, I may not be the best actor, but it's partly letting yourself go and saying, okay, I'll run around like a 12-year-old on stage in front of a few hundred people. That's fine by me. I'm at my stage with amateur theatre where I've done lead parts. I know what it is to do a lead part. It's not as glamorous as it seems. Yeah. You end up with a lot of work to do, a lot of lines to learn, a lot of moves to dance, etc., etc., etc. A lot of pressure on you, a lot of focus on you. I would say that for me, I'm not that bothered about doing the lead part. But I like to get involved. I like being part of it. I like doing more than perhaps being back row of the chorus, but back row of the chorus is perfectly fine most shows. So I'll do whatever's needed. I just put myself out there and said, if you want me to do an audition, I'll do an audition. And the auditions were very relaxed and general in this one, and Paul just picked the people he saw as right for the part. I didn't necessarily see myself as a school child, but apparently I throw myself into it. And I think from doing it so much, I don't get intimidated by being on stage. When you start from when you're really young and you do it now, I don't get nerves going on stage. So to completely open yourself up and just throw yourself into the part, I may not be the best actor, but it's partly letting yourself go and saying, okay, I'll run around like a 12-year-old on stage in front of a few hundred people. That's fine by me.